Dreamworks is known to have many clever and interesting villains, but Death from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish seems to be the most popular, and I mean, it's pretty obvious as to why. I mean, the company Dreamworks has had so many dark villains in the past, with my personal favourite being Drago from How to Train Your Dragon 2. However, apart from that, Dreamworks never fails with their villains. They're all interesting in their own way, and they all have their own dark morals. So why is Death the greatest one out there? I mean, firstly, unlike many of the other Dreamworks villains, he has no sympathy. There's no reason to feel bad for this character at all. He has no tragic backstory, and there's no redemption to be needed. He's also just not your typical villain. Like, he has no reason to be doing what he's doing either. Like, there's nothing about it that makes him do what he's doing. He also has very little and minimal screen time, which is something that we're not very familiar with when watching Dreamworks films, because a lot of other villains have a lot of screen time. And honestly, with less screen time, it makes him a little bit more spookier and maybe even chilling. However, before we get into Death too much, let's look at a brief summary of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. As obvious due to the title, this is about Puss in Boots and he wants one last wish. He's used all 8 of his lives and he goes down to his 9th and final life, so he basically goes into retirement, where he meets this little dog called Perito and they have a little bit of a cute friendship or whatever. We see in the trailer not only Death but also Goldilocks and the 3 bears, so from the first official trailer we have no idea who the villain's going to be for this story at all, and I kind of like that about it. However, we are not disappointed when it comes to finding out the villain for this story. We watch as Puss goes through basically a crisis when he's running away from Death, and the reason Death's character is so interesting because he isn't just called Death because of a fear factor, not as a threat or anything like that. There's no riddles, no metaphor, he is literally Death.
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way.
He causes death. Basically the Grim Reaper.
I'm Death. Straight up.
It's a pretty chilling line that gives you shivers, let's be honest. And for the first time ever, Puss runs away from a fight. He runs from an enemy and spends the majority of the film doing so, wanting his last wish to have more lives so he doesn't have to fear or face death. He's pretty cool, and that's what makes him such a genuinely brilliant villain. I mean, if you look at his character and his skills, he's pretty powerful. Let's just say the list is pretty long. The setup for this character is great. Being first introduced to him in the tavern, we consider him a regular bounty hunter, right? But he's not. We find out he's Death and he's no ordinary enemy Puss has faced before. With a genuinely brilliant voice actor, he manages to properly capture Death's villainous goals and antics. Not to mention the way he portrays his character is so creepy and terrifying that we just genuinely love this character. I mean, some of the lines are just too iconic to forget. And that whistle and red eyes, it's enough to give you the chills, but also enough to keep you interested in this character. His character is also just so interesting. Not only is he just downright creepy, he's so filled with hate. He's so angry at Puss because he has 9 lives and has just wasted 8 of them, so quickly as well. So he wants to take Puss's final life once and for all. I mean, I don't exactly blame him, Puss hasn't valued any of his past lives at all. He's also pretty engaging. He's an enjoyable villain because you're so glued to this character. He's a phenomenal villain that's just so interesting to not only look at because firstly his design is fantastic, but the way he speaks and fights and also taunts Puss is just downright amazing. Because not only is he physically scary, he's mentally scary. He's constantly playing on Puss's mind. I mean, haunting him almost. Making Puss fear everything he does. The character even admitted that he loves the smell of fear, basically having all the power from people fearing him. I mean, we noticed at the end of the film that as soon as Puss stopped fearing Death, it was almost over between the two of them. And that's what's so great about this character's ending. It's the fact Puss never actually defeats him. He remained undefeated. And why is that so great? Because Death can't be defeated. In the ending scene, we can talk about it a little more. Death appears in his usual manner, the tone shifts, it all goes quiet, once again in a colourful scene now turning quite dark, slightly. And Puss is terrified once again, bringing in the fear aspect entirely. Puss is literally having his life flashing before his eyes because he knows this quite literally may be the end for him.
Lives flashing before your eyes.
Having all of his best moments coming back to him at the last second also is a slight tug for the fans because at this moment we don't know whether Puss is going to make it out alive or not. However, this is when we also see that Puss wants to keep his life, fight for his life even. The friends he's gained along the way is something he just doesn't want to give up quite yet. And in the end, Puss does admit that he can't defeat Death, but he'd rather keep fighting for the life that he has. And, you know, Death is quite rightfully angry. And like I said earlier, this game between the two of them, it wasn't fun anymore for him. The fear Puss felt wasn't there anymore. And you know, he was kind of feeding off of Puss's fear, but now that that fear's no longer there, there's nothing for him to go after. The fight scene between the two is absolutely fantastic. Both characters saying, pick it up in different tones. It's just so interesting and so fun.
Pick it up.
Go on, pick it up. Pick it up.
It's also kind of scouting that he was literally hunting Puss wherever he went. And I mean that literally, he was following him everywhere. And with that really creepy whistle following, and even that one scene where he had coins in his eyes, truly freaky. I mean, I'd be pretty creeped out too. It's very clever that he's a wolf too, in a strange but funny way. I mean, it is almost like every single villain is a wolf, but we'll brush over that very quickly. It's only funny because Puss is a cat. You know, cat versus dog. I don't know, I thought it was quite fun and clever. He's a great character for this film because while the film is rather colourful and upbeat, quite humorous in some aspects too, we see this extremely dark character who has no good morals and just wants to cause death against Puss, giving quite a dark tone to this happy childlike film. It's a full circle interesting way to look at this film, with death of course, mostly because death isn't something that you should fear. But also in the beginning, Puss was so egotistical and sees life as a total game. However, in the end of the film, he's grown as a character, he's grateful for his life, and he's happy he's found a way that he wants to live. Overall, this film was just so fantastic and breathtaking to watch, and I think Death was such a complex and interesting character to look at properly. I mean, I could probably say so much more stuff about this character, but maybe another day.